You'll probably understand the reason for that as I get into this video. So I have had people in my life that have essentially tried to make me feel as if the work that I've created is in some way being potentially compromised by other people, stolen by other people, and so forth, maybe monetized for their benefit and excluding me from monetary gain with the intellectual property that I have created. So I'm making this video basically to address the content that I created beginning in 2016, and I'm going to basically just give an explanation of what I did and what has resulted from it at this point. So beginning on November the 2nd of 2016, I was working on the Google Plus platform, which is now a dissolved platform. But while I was working on that platform, I created basically the first draft, the initial draft of a concept that I had for an animated screenplay, and it is called Sweet Pea, and it is based upon the Hans Christian Andersen, The Princess and the Pea story, which you can, Google and read. It's not long, but basically it's based upon that. And then I added things, modified things with the concept of it being converted into an animated screenplay. So I wanted to talk about that. The original concept that I had was 50 pages printed out. I printed it out. I also took that 50 pages that I created for that first initial rough draft. I took that to a printer, had a few copies made of it, provided one of them to David Emerson Toney at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University, left a copy of it in his teacher mailbox because I was hoping that he would review it because he was my creative writing instructor at VCU. I did not ever receive any feedback from him about it, and I was no longer a student there, so he certainly wasn't required to provide me any feedback about what I had written. But I gave him a copy of it to read because I was hoping to get feedback from him as to whether or not he thought that what I had done as a first draft was a good first draft, that kind of thing. I think it's important to be able to, if possible, maintain connections with your instructors to get their feedback, because learning is really a never-ending process, as I'm sure many people can attest to. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that. That creative writing project was done solely by me. I had no collaboration in terms of like how I organized it, how I put it together in the 50 pages. When I was writing it out of sequence on my Google Plus blog post because I was intending to organize it in the structure I wanted for the 50 pages once I had completed it. And so I just wanted to start off by mentioning that. I don't know if anyone has attempted to market that or anything else without my knowledge or consent, but I will say that I have not signed any agreements with anyone at any point since I initially created that project in 2016. I have not agreed to anything as far as distribution, additional development of that project. There has been no contract signed in reference to that. And the reason I feel that this is necessary that I mention this is because I have had intellectual property stolen from me in the past, probably marketed, probably profited without my consent, without my agreement. And so I feel that it's necessary at this time to make a public statement about the things that I have done to ensure that they are protected, because my signature has been forged by individuals that were close to me in the past without my knowledge or consent, because I have been the victim of fraud, because I have been the victim of identity theft. I feel that this is necessary for me to make this public statement. And I want to also state that this video that I'm posting is considered my testimony of what has taken place. So I just want to make sure that this is a matter of public record, because this is basically being done for my legal protection. Now, on a secondary note, I'm going to talk about another project that I have actually mentioned in a previous TikTok video. I started a Telegram channel back in 2021. I believe the initial date of it was December the 13th of 2021. And that channel is called Ginormous Knows. And that is where I have done illustrations related to the story that I created about a gnome and like a bunch of other gnomes and his friend Digit and her brother Morse and their parents. So I started that story in December of 2021. Off and on I have worked on it. So I have worked on it in the month of February. I did some editing on it in the month of June of 2022. I also went back and added some additional content to it in 2023 in April, June, July, and October. So I just wanted to mention that I have not collaborated with anyone on that project. I have not signed any agreements for distribution or other forms of marketing of that project. So if anyone has attempted to do that on my behalf without my consent, I consider that to be copyright infringement, and that will be pursued legally if necessary. I have, as I've stated, I have not given my consent to any sort of distribution of that or any derivative works to be done to profit off of that concept. So I feel it necessary to mention this because over the last several years, I have found it extremely difficult to juggle trying to add to that content and feeling kind of compelled and forced to work full time in order to survive financially. If I had my way, I guess is the best way to put it, I would be focused solely on my creative endeavors. I have not been able to do that because my financial circumstances have been such that I have felt it necessary for me to work, a full-time job in various capacities just to make sure that I could survive financially. And I know that a lot of creatives kind of go through this situation where they feel like they have to put their creative endeavors more to like the back burner, more to like a part-time basis, and they kind of feel compelled to work a full-time occupation somewhere just to make sure that they can continue to survive. And then on their off time, when they're not working for someone else, that is when they do the majority of their creative work. So basically, I want to throw this out there. And I also want to mention that I feel like there have been a lot of instances of shadow banning of my work that have certainly contributed to the limited reach of my creative endeavors and have potentially, because of that shadow banning, resulted in a impact financially to me that have made it, I don't want to say virtually impossible, but much more difficult for me to pursue those creative endeavors, which can be construed as a form of corporate espionage. So I wanted to mention that. I also want to mention that I have found it extremely challenging to try to develop business contacts. I've had to, at different times, sign up for LinkedIn to try to generate business contacts. And because I have a political leaning that the powers in charge of that platform have a tendency to want to target or disagree with, as I built a business following on that platform and expressed some conservative political views, I was targeted by people in that platform and kicked off of my own platform as I was growing it. And because I was using that to develop business contacts, I wanted to mention that platform specifically because I feel like what they did was interference with business product. And I think that they are potentially liable for that. So I'm just going to mention that. This video is about to be at the 10-minute mark, so I'm not going to speak any more on this at this time. But there are people that have been culpable in shadow banning my content and interfering with my financial success and interfering with my creative development process. And I'm putting them on notice right now that they are culpable for what they did, and they may be responsible for restitution because of what they did. Anyway, have a blessed day.